Welcome in to another edition of the Armchair Illini Podcast. My name is Alex, joined here by my very good friend, Austin Berkland. Today we have yet another very special episode where we want to talk about the news that Keaton Wagler, Illini freshman phenom, has declared for the 2026 NBA Draft. Historic season by Wagler. Amazing story. It's no secret that obviously he was an unheralded three-star recruit, and now he's likely going to be a top 10 pick in the 2026 NBA Draft. We're here to talk about a heck of a season and what's to come for Keaton Wagler and his family. Shout out to his dad, Logan, for keeping in touch with me. But yeah, we're here to talk about a special freshman and a special person here on the Armchair Illini Podcast. If you're new here, like this video and subscribe. We're near 1,000 subs, so really appreciate all you guys for tuning in and making us a part of your day. Austin, when Keaton Wagler declared for the 2026 NBA Draft, I don't think any of us were surprised, but what were some of your feelings as we're losing, arguably one of the best freshmen to ever wear the orange and blue?
I mean, gratitude is the number one thing that comes to mind. His family has just been incredible, fans of Champaign, and then what Keaton has done in Champaign has just been unreal. It's a storybook of mighty proportions. I've never seen a player go from where he was ranked, potentially taking visits to Murray State and Southern Illinois University Carbondale, and in the middle of that drive, getting the call from Underwood saying that they are going to offer him at the University of Illinois. And then to have him not only have that phenomenal training camp of legend status, where every reporter that was seeing him, from NBA draft guys to local Illini media beat members, saying, "Oh, Keaton Wagler, he's going to have a lot of minutes here," and you're like, "Okay, is this one of those situations where are we believing this coaching staff as a guy that's just going to be playing minutes but not really producing much, and we'll see what happens as a unheralded freshman?" But for him to have this turn on moment, I mean, this is a guy that only played 14 minutes on November 28th against UConn, scoring 3 points, to setting the Mackey visitors record of points against Purdue, and leading this team to a Final Four with a lot of great veteran leaders on this team, with Kylan Boswell and Andrei Stojakovic and Thomas Lavavisic, guys that have been there and done that in an Illinois uniform or in the college level. And he was the de facto leader on this team. And it just is the biggest transformation I've ever seen. And I think it's one of those things where I'm going to be talking to my grandkids about him and being like, you will not believe what this Keaton Wagler did and where he came from. And now he is this NBA guy that you all know and love. Like, it just is incredible. And it makes you speechless, but there's so many words yet to describe what Keaton Wagler did in the orange and blue.
Yeah, I mean, when Kylan Boswell said he's cold, like he's gonna be the best freshman that's ever played, everyone was like, wait, really? And then you heard Brad Underwood compare Keaton to Io. I think that got a lot of attention too. Shout out to Sleepers for obviously picking that one out. But when he first committed, no one really knew who he was. Obviously, like you said, he was visiting Murray State, places like Southern Illinois. Drake, Ben McCollum was recruiting him really heavily. Nico Medved was recruiting him really heavily to Colorado State. Minnesota was the only other high major offer. You thought, okay, this is going to be one of those evals. It's kind of like, remember Devin Witherspoon for Lovie Smith, and just one of those unheralded guys that you said this could either go great or he's really not going to play at all. But when you watch the film, you see he has some translatable skills. He can shoot the ball really well. He's a good ball handler, but he was just really thin. So everyone was thinking, okay, he's probably going to come in redshirt, and 2 or 3 years down the line, he's going to be one of those guys. Like you think like Cam Christie, who I have always mentioned with Keaton Wagler, just because thinner guy can really shoot the ball, but he turned into way more than just a Cam Christie. He turned into basically a indispensable player for Illinois. He played basically entire games at some points in time, had the ball in his hands pretty much the entire time. Obviously, Merkovich shared that, and Stojakovic and all those guys, Kylan Boswell, but he was the head of the snake on a Final Four team. And he came from being recruited by Drake, Colorado State. So it was just such a quick turnaround. And the way that he handled it too, he wasn't ever loud about it. He never really had that freshman wall. Obviously he had some not so great games versus Michigan State, but you remember you would see like turnovers from Kasparis Yakachonis and all those different things. Keaton never really hit that freshman wall. He never got too high nor too low, and I think that's one of the things that I'll really remember most about him. Do you remember your initial impressions of Keaton Wagler when he first committed?
Yeah, I thought he was going to be like the second fiddle freshman to Brandon Lee. And I thought he was going to be the guy that was like, hey, maybe by his junior year, we'll see something. It'll be a long evaluation process. And that's what I thought he was going to be. And I don't think anybody was expecting what this was. But at the time of his commitment, I thought it was going to be, hey, by the time he's a junior or senior, he's going to understand Brad Underwood's philosophies. And you're going to need guys in this transfer portal era that are fine with sitting and developing. And I thought that was what Keaton Wagler was going to do. I thought he was going to be a redshirt candidate as well. And then that's whenever the amazing scouting reports of training camp started to feed through whenever he first got on campus.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just a really, really incredible story. And I will say there's a lot of noise right now that, hey, he's not ready for the NBA. Keaton's ready for the NBA. He's going to be a top 10 pick. You don't turn that kind of opportunity down. Could he make a little bit more money by playing in college? Sure. But ultimately, these guys are wanting to play to the NBA. This has probably been his dream to play in the NBA ever since he was a child. And if that moment is there and you're going to be a guaranteed top 10 pick, you go to that and you
I mean,
run.
if Will Riley is ready for the NBA, then Keaton Walker is
Exactly.
definitely ready for the NBA. That was another thin guy who people were like, "Oh, but he maybe need to physically develop a little bit, gain some muscle, gain some fat." But he's doing just fine. 30-point games in the NBA, and I think Keaton is going to be just
Exactly.
fine as his rookie year.
Yeah, people said Will Riley's too thin, what have you. There was even a video made by someone the other day saying, debate, is there a question of whether Keaton Walker should return or not? I thought that was it's just silly. So Keaton Walker's going to be really good. Wherever he lands up, I hope he lands in a good situation where he can kind of just ball out. Look at Jeremiah Fears on New Orleans Pelicans, where he's kind of given the keys to the offense, and Jeremiah Fears is completely balling out right now. Another thin guy, you know what I mean? So I think Keaton's
What
going to be really good at the next
what
level.
team what team do you want him on?
So I think it depends on the situation. Obviously, I have to look through which teams are drafting where. But I think you want a good situation where Keaton can have the ball in his hands and play a similar role to what he was in college. You look at Jeremiah Fears right now, who's on the New Orleans Pelicans, and he's absolutely balling out. He just had like a 40-point game. And I think that was because he landed in a really good situation. If you look at a guy like Nick Stauskas from many years ago, he landed with the Kings, and that was a terrible situation for him. And it ended up really derailing his career. He was the eighth overall pick, but he landed in a really bad situation with the Sacramento Kings, and that really derailed his career. So look at Tyrese Halliburton, who is completely balling out with the Pacers. He was on the Kings. Again, not a really good scenario for him. So I really think or hope that Keaton goes to a good situation where he can play and ball out. Hopefully not a situation like the Sacramento Kings. I'm looking at teams like maybe the Utah Jazz. The Nets have a lot of young talent. We got some NBA guys coming to help us out with that thought process as well. So obviously, when we talk about Keaton Wagler, we have to talk about the 46 points at Mackey Arena. That's probably everyone's favorite Keaton Wagler moment. What are your memories about that 46-point performance? Because I know for me, I was in disbelief, and you're just like, okay, eventually he's going to start missing a bunch of shots, but he just kept making shot after shot after shot. And you thought maybe he'll get tired. He didn't get tired. He scored 46 points at Mackey Arena. Historic performance. I don't think I'll ever forget that moment. What are your memories from that special moment?
Yeah, I mean, number four team in the country at that point, the Purdue Boilermakers, and you're going in and expecting a heavyweight fight of this Illinois team versus this Purdue team, and you expected Keaton Wagler to have a decent game just because that's what the expectations were, kind of for Keaton at that point. He had 13 points against Maryland leading up to that, 22 points against Northwestern, and then kind of did a better job than Bennett Sturts against Iowa on January 11th, scoring 19 points. So you're like, all right, maybe if he continues that trend, 19 points to 16 points, something along those lines, the rest of the team can do something. And then the Illini just kind of blitzkrieged Purdue with the shooting ability of Keaton going 9 for 11 from the 3-point line, and just the defensive capabilities as well. Keaton going up against a tough matchup in Braden Smith at times was awesome to see. So I thought the defensive effort of Keaton with the 46 points was just absolutely utterly insane of how much effort he was delivering. I remember there was a moment in that game roughly around like point 43 or 42 where he was just so slumped over and so dog tired in that game, and you really saw the heart of a warrior that Keaton Wagler possesses, and just that quiet strength that even senior leaders like Highland Boswell and Ben Hummerkaus were kind of leaning on Keaton to bring it home for the Illini.
Outside of that Mackey Arena performance, though, what were some of your favorite performances or moments from Keaton Wagler's season? I know for me, I kind of go between two things. One is obviously that Elite Eight kind of Penny Hardaway step back jumper, where he basically took that guy's ankles. I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was Tate Sage or one of the other guys. I know it wasn't Bennett Sturts, but that one where he obviously did that step back is one of mine. But another one that I really wanted to talk about was his performance versus Houston, where he played versus Kingston Flemings. He did not have a great shooting night. He shot 4 for 14, I believe, but he got 13 rebounds in that game. He led the game in rebounds versus a team like Houston, who is an animal on the glass. Guys like Chris Sinak, Joseph Tugler, all those like chiseled, kind of junkyard dogs, if you will. And Keaton completely silenced all the haters about, oh, is he physical enough? Is he going to handle the NBA's physicality? Is he big enough, etc. That was one of my favorite moments, and he played really, really good defense on Kingston Flemings. And I think that was the moment where I was like, hey, he's a lottery pick. He's got to get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, he averaged 18 points in the NCAA tournament. He shot 37% from beyond the 3-point line, but that's not it of this game in the NCAA tournament. He had 6.8 rebounds per game and 3.4 assists per game. I mean, he was literally doing everything on the basketball court and having tough defense against some very tough assignments, especially in Iowa, especially against UConn, and I mean especially against Houston in that Kingston Flemings game. So I really give him credit for that all-around performance in the postseason. But my favorite memory might be in a loss, and that was against Michigan State in that 85-82 game. He had 16 points in that game, and he was only 2 of 16 shooting in that game. And I think his free throw ability really showed through of what he can do of still making a impact on the game, even though his shooting might not be where it needs to be in a game like that. And he was literally a he literally was a 3-point shot away. He passed the ball away in overtime when that weird, crazy 5 point comeback in the last 20 seconds or so. If he would have shot that and made that, I think that legend of Keaton would have grown even more going into Michigan State, that away arena. So I think that moment and that game, even in a loss, was just really refreshing to see, because when a guy goes through shooting spells, you're like, all right, he's not impacting this game at all. But he really was a very massive part of that game with that 2 of 16 shooting.
Where do you think he stacks up amongst Illini greats in terms of the best freshman season in the orange and blue? Obviously, Brad Underwood has had some really, really impressive freshmen. You think of Kasparas Jakuchonis. Will Riley had a really good freshman season. Even David Mirkovic had a really good freshman season for what it's worth. Dosunmu was really good, maybe not on the best team. Trent Frazier had a pretty good freshman season as well.
Kofi.
Kofi, obviously. Georgie B had a really good freshman season. So where do you think he lines up in terms of the best freshman to ever don the orange and blue? And specifically in the Underwood era, where would you kind of stack him up amongst those?
I mean, all time, I think he's number one. And I don't take that lightly either. I look at him as a guy who is going to be in the rafters with just the smallest amount of games played in the orange and blue. So I think that is extremely vital to rating him as the number one freshman of all time in an Illini uniform. And then just the draft position that he's going to be put in, maybe a top 5 pick, maybe a top 8 pick. So I think you got to look at that as a number one freshman season of all time.
I totally agree. And I mean, he's going to be a lottery pick and probably the highest that an Illini has ever been picked since Darren Williams. Myers Leonard was, I believe, 11th off the top of my
Mhm.
head. So if Keaton Wagler can get between 3 and 11, he's number 5 in some drafts. So I think it's really impressive. And he's just 19 years old, which is really, really cool. So he has a bright future ahead of him. I'm really excited to watch him in the summer league and in the preseason, kind of like how we've been keeping tabs on Kasparas Yakachonis, Will Riley, Terrence Shannon Jr., Dosunmu. And Illinois has developed quite the guard cell. We were just talking about it in a previous episode. Be sure to check that out. And if you're new here, like this video and subscribe. But Illinois has built quite the guard cell with Keaton Wagler, Will Riley, Kasparas Yakachonis, Dosunmu, Terrence Shannon, and more. Now they have Quentin Coleman, Stephon Vox, who's just recently committed. Quite the guard cell, isn't that right?
I mean, I was making a collection of all the Illini guys in the NBA in terms of buying their jerseys on draft night, and I think that may need to stop because I'm going to become poor with all of these jerseys that I'm going to have to buy with the Illini. And Keaton Wagler is going to be another one coming in, and then whatever happens with the second round in this draft. I mean, it's just so impressive the pros that the Illini are developing, and even guys that have not made the NBA, but some of those European guys. I mean, you can go pro if you play in the University of Illinois. I mean, Marcus Damask is doing really great in Europe. Kofi Coburn is doing great in Asia. You're looking at just all sorts of Quincy Guerrier and Coleman
Andres
Hawkins have
Feliz.
done great, and Andres Felice have done well in the G League and in foreign leagues. So, I mean, the list is going on and on and on about pro basketball and the Illini in a way that we haven't seen in quite some time. I mean, the Bruce Weber era, the John Gross era, there wasn't a lot of NBA stock other than Malcolm Hill. And now that's dwarfed by what Brad Underwood has been able to bring in. There were diversifying ways of bringing people in. You have Keaton Wagler through the high school ranks. You have got Kasparas Yakuchonis through the European ranks. You got the transfer portal guys as well. I mean, it's just a diversification of talent acquisition for the Illini, and it is showing itself in the biggest stage in the NBA right now.
Yeah, I mean, so Keaton Wagler, I think one of the best seasons in general, not just for a freshman. 17.9 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, 4.2 assists on 39.7% from the 3-point line. Only 1.8 turnovers, which I think was another really underrated aspect and why Illinois was able to do so well with a true freshman running its offense. But just a really, really incredible season, incredible story, incredible person, incredible family, and I'm really excited and definitely really grateful that Tyler Underwood ended up watching Keaton Wagler, on a whim and deciding to offer the guy. And Brad Underwood took Keaton Wagler without even seeing him play in person. So just really cool all around. And I'm sure we'll be talking about Keaton Wagler for many more years to come. Any final thoughts about this?
Here's your fun fact of the day. Keaton Wagler only fouled out of one game in his Illini career, and that was against Alabama early on. That's just unreal for the amount of usage he's had, the guards he's had to go up against in a tough non-conference, one of the toughest non-conference slates I've ever seen for the Illini, and this Big Ten, which is one of the best of all-time conferences that we've ever seen in college basketball. So for him as a freshman to stand tall with these players and winning national awards, becoming an All-American. I mean, he won the Jerry West Award. Is that correct? Or,
Correct.
yeah, I mean, it's just insane the awards that he's won as a freshman and one of the best freshman classes of all time in college hoops this year that you've seen, like the likes of Kingston Flemings. The list goes on. The Boozer brothers. It's just a crazy good freshman class that Keaton Wagler has kind of stood head and shoulders above as a 0-star style recruit.
Exactly. And not to mention Big Ten Freshman of the Year, second team All American. He'll get his jersey up in the rafters at a date to be determined. But be sure to tune into the Armchair Illini podcast for all the latest. We got some really cool episodes coming up, including some NBA draft content. Hopefully, that's to come to fruition this week. Austin's going to do an episode, and hopefully, myself and Austin are probably going to host someone from No Ceilings, knock on wood. So hopefully, all that works out. Again, during this offseason, be sure to DM me for any feedback or anything that you would like to see during a very long and kind of boring offseason once it hits June. So
Boring.
this has been the Armchair Illini podcast. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. Appreciate all you guys for making us a part of your day. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Until then.